When Xingnan opened her eyes after dying, she saw herself throwing her melting ice cream at the future villain. She was completely stunned. Where was she? Who was this? What was she doing? The last thing she remembered was kicking out her gold-digging stepmother and her son who were after her family's fortune. She had just won that battle when she got into a car accident. Now, she found herself at a place called the Time and Space Repair Office. To earn points to come back to life, she had to work for them. This was her first mission. The world she entered was from a novel called Queen of the Entertainment Circle. The main character was Sheng Mion, and Xingnan was the villain in the book. In the story, Xingnan is Sheng Mion's cousin. She's a mixed-race beauty whose parents divorced. She suspected her father had a secret love child in Beijing and came back to get revenge. Soon after returning, she fell for Jiyu Lanfeng, the most popular guy at Beijing No. 1 high school. To win him over, Xingnan did a lot of foolish things. Because Jiyu Lanfeng was close to her cousin Sheng Mion, she often targeted her out of jealousy. She also bullied poor student Yu Nanheng because people compared him to Jiyu Lanfeng. At the same time, she hired people to investigate the secret love child, Shang Yu. After finding Shang Yu, she constantly tried to cause trouble for him and even planned to kidnap him. Eventually, Xingnan's parents both met with misfortune, leaving her an orphan overnight. Meanwhile, Sheng Mion and Jiyu Lanfeng became rising stars in the entertainment industry, attracting everyone's attention. Shang Yu, who had been bullied by Xingnan, eventually became the head of a powerful foreign family. Yu Nanheng, who was also mistreated by her, turned into the heir of the top financial conglomerate in China, known for his ruthless and unforgiving nature. Both of them, along with Jiyu Lanfeng, had feelings for Sheng Mion and hated Xingnan deeply. In the end, Xingnan faced their harsh revenge. She was left with no way out, ended up working in shady clubs, and became known as a public disgrace. After getting sick, she couldn't even work in those clubs anymore and became a homeless, mad woman. At the moment Xingnan saw Jiyu Lanfeng and Sheng Mion get engaged, she choked up, ran away, got hit by a car, and died shortly after. After Xingnan's death, Yu Nanheng inherited his family's business and completely turned evil following his adoptive mother's death, becoming the main antagonist in the book's world. Xingnan's mission this time was to take the place of this tragic side character, stop Yu Nanheng from turning evil, and change her own fate. Reflecting on the book's plot, Xingnan realized the current scenario: Yu Nanheng had just appeared on the school's most handsome guys list. The original Xingnan thought Yu Nanheng, being poor, wasn't worthy of being compared to the popular Jiyu Lanfeng. So she tried to sabotage all his part-time jobs. Knowing Yu Nanheng's family was poor and his mother was chronically ill, she hired him for errands just to bully and humiliate him. Right now, the original Xingnan had deliberately sent Yu Nanheng to buy ice cream in the scorching heat, then publicly threw the melted ice cream at him. Seeing the miserable Yu Nanheng, Xingnan couldn't help but feel speechless. She thought, why am I, a rich heiress, wasting my time on this petty stuff instead of enjoying life? Wouldn't it be more fun to hang out with the cute guys at the club who are sweet and call me a big sister? Just then, a voice in her head interrupted, focus on the mission, Xingnan. She frowned, snapping back to reality. She looked at Yu Nanheng, who stood there silently, looking weak and pitiful, but she knew he wasn't as helpless as he seemed. In the book, Yu Nanheng made the most money as a fighter in an underground boxing ring. Later, he got revenge on Xingnan for all her bullying by making her life miserable. Now, after she humiliated him by throwing melted ice cream at him in front of everyone, her so-called friends started egging her on. Nan, make him go buy more. He's so useless. Starting off by provoking the main villain of the story, Xingnan wondered how she was supposed to complete her mission of changing this character's fate. The system warned her that Yu Nanheng's evilness level had already reached 80%. Frustrated by her fake friend stirring up trouble, Xingnan snapped, "Are you telling me what to do?" Her friends froze, stunned. Xingnan smirked and said, "Only I can mess with him, got it?" They looked embarrassed, but didn't dare say anything. Xingnan then turned to Yu Nanheng and nodded, "All right, Yu Nanheng, you can go." Yu Nanheng was confused. This idiot usually liked to torment him, so why was she acting different today? Letting the idiot go is good, he's got other things to do. Yu Nanheng was taken aback but quickly snapped out of it. You haven't paid for today yet, he muttered. Sheng Nan casually pulled out her phone and transferred 500 yuan to Yu Nanheng, knowing the original Sheng Nan had plenty of money. Take your clothes to the dry cleaner. They're filthy, and I've sent you the money, she said. Yu Nanheng didn't even look at her, just bent down to pick up the ice cream wrapper from the ground and walked away. Her friends still weren't satisfied and kept pushing. Nan, why did you let him off so easily today? Gu Lanfeng is still playing basketball. You should teach Yu Nanheng a lesson to show he how much you like him. Sheng Nan glanced at her so-called friends, realizing that they played a part in her miserable end in the original story. It was scorching hot, and she couldn't understand why the original Sheng Nan would sit here risking a sunburn to watch basketball. Watching cute guys dance at the club sounded way better. I've got things to do. I'm leaving, Sheng Nan said, standing up. The girls were surprised, but Gu Lanfeng's game isn't over yet. Where are you going? I need to return the cheerleading props I borrowed, she lied and walked away. Just then, her plastic friends linked arms with her, excitedly pointing out that Gu Lanfeng was looking over. Sheng Nan glanced back and saw a guy on the court looking their way, his face flushed from the game but still showing his handsome features. Gu Lanfeng saw her and frowned slightly, quickly looking away with a disdainful expression. Sheng Nan raised an eyebrow. Look at him, all red-faced and flaring his nostrils like a baboon, she snarked to her fake friends before walking off, leaving them in stunned silence. They couldn't believe Sheng Nan had just called the school heartthrob a baboon. As she walked, Sheng Nan thought about how to quickly gather enough points to revive herself. She'd managed to deal with the scheming mother-daughter duo, but if she didn't hurry, they could make a comeback and ruin everything again. Suddenly, the equipment room door swung open and someone grabbed her arm, pulling her inside. Reacting instinctively, she elbowed back and kicked, making his assailant grunt and let go. Sheng Nan turned to see a young man in a black coat, bleeding from his chest and holding a knife. He smirked, impressed. She knew who he was, Sheng Yu, the school doctor, wrongly accused by the original Sheng Nan and driven away. More importantly, her father's downfall in the family feud was partly because of this man. But right now, they hadn't crossed paths yet, so there was still a chance to change things. Sheng Yu's eyes flashed coldly, but he was injured and couldn't overpower the girl right away. In the next moment, his expression changed, and he looked at her pleadingly. Don't call the cops. I'm not a bad guy. I'm your school doctor. My father's illegitimate son tried to kidnap me. I got hurt trying to escape. It was hard to believe that the gentle, harmless-looking man in front of her was actually the head of a mysterious foreign family and one of the reasons for her father's downfall. No matter how much he pretended, Sheng Nan knew he was lying. He was the illegitimate son. She kept her thoughts to herself and picked up her phone slowly. That's really unfortunate. I'll help you call the police, then you'll be safe. Sheng Yu quickly stopped her, sighing, family scandals shouldn't be made public. It's better not to call the police. Seeing that she seemed convinced, Sheng Yu cautiously asked, can you help me get some clothes from the school infirmary? I can't go out like this. He looked innocent and harmless, whispering, please, help me. I'll repay you someday. Sheng Nan took the keys from his hand and left the equipment room. She knew she couldn't do much to him now, so instead of making an enemy, she decided to do him this favor. It might come in handy later. After Sheng Nan left, Sheng Yu dropped his helpless act. The items are in your possession now. Make sure he doesn't make it out alive. He spoke coldly into his phone, staring at the equipment room door with a chilling gaze. Choosing to trust and seek help from that girl was a desperate move. If she dared to betray him, he would make sure she regretted ever being born. Sheng Nan returned with some clothes and a few medical supplies. When Sheng Yu saw the bandages and antiseptic, he was a bit surprised. He looked up and gave her a warm, friendly smile. "Thank you," he said, taking off his jacket to reveal a t-shirt almost soaked in blood. Sheng Nan felt disgusted and instinctively wanted to step back, but she hid her revulsion and looked uneasy instead. "Do you need help?" she asked hesitantly. Sheng Yu paused and then looked at her. "That would be great, thanks." Sheng Nan didn't say anything else as she started bandaging him up. Sheng Yu watched her closely, noticing her pretty ash-blonde hair and dark eyes that seemed to have a hint of green. She looked like she had some mixed heritage. When Sheng Nan finished, she stood up and wiped her hands. "If there's nothing else, I'll be going now." Seeing how eager she was to leave made Sheng Yu want to laugh, but he kept a grateful expression on his face. "Thanks for today. Let's pretend we never saw each other." Sheng Nan quickly turned to leave, looking like she wanted to avoid any trouble. Just then, Sheng Yu's phone buzzed. He opened it to find an email with a photo attached. When he saw the picture, his eyes narrowed. No wonder the girl seemed so striking, she had Norman blood. Sheng Yu sneered, thinking about how Leslie Norman pretended to be friendly while secretly siding with his idiot brother. If he could get Leslie's daughter under his control, how reliable would their alliance be? Sheng Yu smirked, a cold look in his eyes. Sheng Nan rented a classroom and asked the system to locate Yi Nanheng. With his blackened value at 80, it wouldn't be easy to get close to him. She needed to think of a plan. Just as she stepped out of the school gate, she heard a familiar voice. It was Sheng Mian. At that moment, Sheng Mian was standing in front of Yi Nanheng, looking shy and apologetic. "I'm sorry on her behalf. She's spoiled, I know she did a lot of bad things," she said warmly. Sheng Mian was the school beauty, with long hair and a light pink bow, looking peaceful and pretty. But the boy in front of her didn't want to buy her kindness. His expression was cold and distant as he frowned. "And then?" Sheng Mian was stunned. And then what, she thought. He didn't seem moved by her friendliness. Yi Nanheng turned and said softly, "If you don't have anything else, I need to get to my part-time job." Sheng Mian awkwardly smiled. "Oh, I won't bother you then." What Sheng Mian didn't know was that as soon as Yi Nanheng turned around, his expression turned to one of indifference and disdain. Sheng Mian watched his back thoughtfully. Sure, Ji Lanfeng was great and handsome, but he came from a wealthy family and was used to being admired. Yi Nanheng, on the other hand, had better grades and looked just as good, but his family was poor, and people usually kept their distance from him. If she got close and showed him some care, this lonely boy might easily fall for her. Having someone like Yi Nanheng, who's poor yet talented, like her would feel pretty good. Nobody expected that the poor kid who was always bullied would turn into a professional boxer and a major villain in this world. While Sheng Mian was trying hard to impress Yi Nanheng, he was actually being cornered in an alley by a few guys from the gym who didn't like him. They looked mean and acted like they had nothing to fear. Sheng Mian, shaking, pulled out her phone and yelled, "What are you doing? Don't mess around. I'll call the cops." One of the guys sneered at her. "Go ahead, call them if you want to. If you don't want to get hurt, get lost." Her courage vanished instantly, and she turned pale, took a couple of steps back, and ran away without daring to look at Yi Nanheng. The guys laughed. "Just like we thought, this pretty boy always has girls swooning over him." They surrounded Yi Nanheng, pointing baseball bats at him. "Kid, winning all the time is boring. Didn't you know our boss bet on your opponent? You cost him a lot of money. How are you gonna pay for that?" Yi Nanheng looked up, his expression cold and intense, nothing like the weak student he appeared to be at school. One of the guys cursed, "This kid doesn't know his place. Let's get him." They rushed at him, but Yi Nanheng's eyes sharpened. He threw a powerful punch, sending one of them flying several feet away. Yi Nanheng turned, ready to fight, his gaze icy and filled with an unprecedented ferocity. "You started this," he said. The others hesitated, then angrily charged at him. Yi Nanheng dodged and countered with a series of quick, powerful moves, taking them down one by one. Just then, the guy he had knocked down earlier tried to sneak up on him. One of the guys pulled out a syringe and yelled, jumping up and stabbing it towards Yi Nanheng's back. Yi Nanheng instinctively raised his arm to block, but the needle still jabbed into his arm. He froze, feeling a sharp pain, his eyes suddenly turning fierce. He hit the guy again, sending him flying. As Yi Nanheng fought, the drug started to kick in faster. He pulled out the syringe and walked towards the guy who had stabbed him, but after a few steps, he started to feel dizzy and weak. At the same time, a burning sensation spread through his body, messing with his mind. The guy laughed maniacally. Tough guy, huh? Let's see if you can still act tough after my buddies get their hands on you. Yi Nanheng heard every word, his eyes filled with anger. He tried to steady himself against the wall, but the guy grabbed his arm and dragged him away. Just then, a loud siren blared, and someone shouted, "Officer, they're over here!" The guy cursed and threw Yi Nanheng aside, then ran off with his crew. A moment later, a head peeked around the corner to make sure the thugs were gone. Xing Nan walked in, whistling. If the system hadn't warned me that Yi Nanheng was in trouble, he'd be in serious danger right now. She pushed the slumped figure against the wall. Yi Nanheng looked up, his eyes filled with hostility. Xing Nan, startled, muttered something and instinctively slapped him. The slap echoed, and Yi Nanheng turned his head, but didn't move. Xing Nan smirked, "Don't scare me like that." Thinking about her mission, Xing Nan sighed. She struggled to help Yi Nanheng up and said, "I'm here to save you, so don't hit me, okay? If you hit me, I'll hit you back." Gritting his teeth and mumbling under his breath, he leaned on her as they stumbled out, looking for a car to take him to the hospital. She already knew from the system how important Yi Nanheng was. Suddenly, the boy, who had been closing his eyes, grabbed her unexpectedly. Next thing she knew, her back hit the wall, and she felt a burning pain on her lip. Yi Nanheng had bitten her. Xing Nan was furious. She slapped him hard and was about to do it again when she remembered that this guy held grudges. If he woke up and saw his face messed up, he'd hate her even more. Yi Nanheng, still unclear and groggy, tried to see her clearly. "Who are you?" he mumbled. Xing Nan blinked and thought, "Great, he's really going to hold a grudge." She pulled back a bit and said, "Just call me a pretty girl." She helped him out of the alley and flagged down a taxi to the hospital. The driver gave them a weird look and asked, "Is your boyfriend okay?" Xing Nan coldly replied, "He was drugged." "Just drive faster, please." The driver chuckled, muttered something under his breath, and sped up. Xing Nan got Yi Nanheng to the hospital, took care of the paperwork, paid the fees, and made sure he was okay before heading home. When Xing Nan got home, her original's mom, Sheng Mingchan, warmly welcomed her. The table was already set with 3 dishes and a soup. Xing Nan felt a moment of awkwardness. In real life, her mom had passed away giving birth to her. Her dad was always busy with work, and her stepmom was a manipulative jerk. She had never been this close to anyone before. But seeing the genuine love in Sheng Mingshan's eyes, she couldn't bring herself to refuse her care. It was a new feeling for her. Just then, there was a knock on the door. It was Aunt Ju Yu, who, according to the original story, started asking for money and jewelry as soon as Xing Nan and her mom returned to China, never paying it back. As expected, when Sheng Mingshan opened the door, Ju Yu grabbed her hand and said, "Oh, sister, I need your help. I have a wedding to attend the day after tomorrow and I'm short on jewelry. Can I borrow a set?" Xing Nan stood by the door with a sarcastic look. In the original story, after Xing Nan's family had problems, Ju Yu was the first to seize their house and kick them out, leaving Xing Nan to fend for herself. Ju Yu always used the excuse of taking care of their elders to guilt-trip Sheng Mingshan into giving her money. As usual, Sheng Mingshan's heart softened, and she was about to get the jewelry when Xing Nan stopped her. She looked at the shameless Ju Yu with a half-smile. "Auntie, you haven't returned the necklace you borrowed from my mom last time. How about you return that first?" Ju Yu looked embarrassed for a moment, then said, "Xing Mingshan, you must have plenty of money from your foreign husband, but you're so stingy with your family. Your brother and I have been working hard to take care of our parents, and this is how you repay us." Aunt Ju started yelling loudly, drawing the attention of the neighbors. She knew Sheng Mingshan was easily embarrassed, so she raised her voice even more, dragging the neighbors into the argument, claiming that Sheng Mingshan had abandoned her elderly parents and was now trying to take over their house. The neighbors began gossiping and criticizing Sheng Mingfan and Sheng Nan. Ju Ayu's eyes gleamed with satisfaction. Sheng Mingshan wasn't good at arguing and looked visibly upset by Ju Ayu's nonsense, but Sheng Nan wasn't having it. She grabbed her mom's hand and, pretending to cry, said, "Mom, we barely have enough money to get by. Last time, Aunt Ju said Grandma needed money for medical bills, but didn't we already cover those costs? Why is she accusing us of being heartless and demanding more money now?" Sheng Mingshan caught her daughter's wink and decided to go along with it. "Yes, sister-in-law, I paid all the hospital bills for our parents. I even gave you 600,000 yuan for this house. Why do you still act like I owe you?" Seeing her mom play along, Sheng Nan continued loudly, "Aunt Ju, you still haven't returned the necklace you borrowed from my mom, and now you want more jewelry. Mom barely has any left. Can you at least give her a break?" Ju Ayu's face turned red with anger. She smacked Sheng Nan's hand away and shouted, "I told you I'd return it. You little brat, always causing trouble." Sheng Nan collapsed into her mom's arms, crying, "I'm not causing trouble. I'm speaking Chinese, and I have Chinese nationality. You can't bully us just because we won't lend you jewelry." The neighbors couldn't stand it anymore and started chiming in, criticizing Ju Ayu. They said that it's normal for those with money to contribute financially and those who can't to help in other ways, but she shouldn't exploit people just because they couldn't help physically. It was clear to everyone that Ju Ayu wasn't an easy person to deal with. With everyone pointing and talking, Ju Ayu's face went pale with anger and embarrassment. Before leaving, she scoffed and said, "I'll return that stupid necklace to you. It's not like I wanted it anyway." She then turned and stormed off in her high heels. Sheng Nan smirked as she watched her leave, thinking to herself, "Good riddance." Meanwhile, in another part of town, Yi Nanheng woke up in the hospital. As soon as he opened his eyes, he sat up abruptly, his gaze sharp and alert. The nurse walked in just then and hurriedly said, "Take it easy. You're still on an 4 drip, don't move too much." Yi Nanheng calmed down and asked politely, "I'm in the hospital, right? Who brought me here? How much are the medical bills?" The nurse, adjusting his 4, replied softly, "A young girl, about your age. She paid the bill for this room until tomorrow, which totals 987 yuan." After the nurse left, Yi Nanheng started to recall the events. He remembered a blurry figure helping him out of the alley and his near uncontrolled biting. He frowned slightly, wondering if it was Sheng Mion. She tried to help him at first, but got scared away by those people. Did she come back later? Yi Nanheng sent a friend request without any expression on his face, and it was accepted almost immediately. He then sent a message thanking the person and transferred the medical fees. Sheng Mion, upon receiving the transfer, already guessed what had happened. She didn't correct him and gladly accepted the gratitude, since her goal was to make Yi Nanheng like her to satisfy her vanity. While feeling pleased with herself, she heard her mother Ju Ayu angrily shouting, "Tomorrow, give that necklace to that foreign girl. It seems like they aren't as rich as they appear." Sheng Mion's eyes flickered. "Mom, did you meet with Auntie today?" Ju Ayu briefly recounted her meeting with Sheng Nan's family, noting that despite their usual flashy appearances, they clearly weren't well off. "Mom, look at this." Sheng Mion took out a sparkly fake gemstone necklace that looked almost identical to the one from Sheng Nan's family. She smiled and handed it to Ju Ayu. "Let's return this fake one instead of the real one." Ju Ayu's eyes lit up immediately. "Yes, let's give this back. I took care of her parents for so long, and now she's quibbling over a necklace. I won't return the real one, she owes me." The next day, when Sheng Nan arrived at school, she noticed people giving her weird looks. Especially a group of her so-called friends who were whispering and occasionally glancing her way. Finally, one of them spoke up, "Hey, is it true you're just pretending to be a rich girl? They say you live in an old house and that the driver who picks you up is in a rented car." Sheng Nan's lips twitched slightly, remembering a similar situation in the original story. Back then, the original character had scoffed at the rumors, showing off her bank account balance to shock everyone, which quickly squashed the gossip. However, Sheng Nan had learned from the system that this rumor had been subtly spread by Sheng Mion. She realized that it might be better to let Sheng Mion and her mom think she was poor, which would stop Zhu Ayu from constantly trying to take advantage of her. Sheng Nan then stomped her foot dramatically, pretending to be embarrassed and defensive about the lie being exposed. She angrily demanded to know who was spreading false rumors, then stormed out of the classroom, giving the impression that the gossip was true and that she was indeed pretending to be rich. Her so-called friends exchanged looks, sneering at her retreating figure and deciding to distance themselves from someone so vain and deceitful. Sheng Nan didn't mind losing these shallow friends, it was a relief to be rid of them. 2 periods later, during the break, Sheng Nan found Sheng Mion and called her to a corner of the stairwell. Sheng Mion handed her a jewelry box with a smile. "My mom asked me to give you this necklace. Please pass it on to Auntie." Sheng Nan raised an eyebrow and took the box. With her experience and memories of countless real jewels, she immediately noticed something was off. Sheng Mion, thinking Sheng Nan wouldn't be able to tell it was a fake, watched nervously as Sheng Nan opened the box. With a smirk, Sheng Nan tossed the box back. "This isn't the one. If you're returning it, return the real one." After saying that, Sheng Nan turned to leave. Sheng Mion felt a bit panicked inside but didn't show it. Instead, she looked confused and grabbed Sheng Nan's arm tightly, raising her voice. "What do you mean? This is the necklace. What are you trying to do?" Sheng Mion's loud voice drew a lot of attention. Sheng Nan's arm hurt from being grabbed so hard. Just then, a calculating look flashed in Sheng Mion's eyes. She stumbled dramatically and fell to the ground with a loud thud. Their classmates were in an uproar. Some girls who were close to Sheng Mion immediately rushed over to help her up and glared at Sheng Nan. "How could you do that?" they accused. Sheng Nan just smiled, walked over, squatted down, and asked, "Does it hurt?" Sheng Mion was about to get up with the help of her friends, but Sheng Nan suddenly pushed her back down forcefully. Sheng Mion was shocked and a little pale. She had only intended to fake a fall, but Sheng Nan had actually pushed her. Sheng Nan raised an eyebrow. "Weren't you trying to look weak and pitiful? I'm just helping you out. Now everyone thinks you're fragile and innocent. Shouldn't you thank me?" Tears welled up in Sheng Mion's eyes, looking even more pitiful. Just then, someone came up from behind Sheng Nan, helped Sheng Mion up, and then turned to Sheng Nan, coldly saying, "Apologize." Sheng Nan smirked and looked at the person with a cold, defiant gaze. "Apologize? Who do you think you are?" Sheng Nan, who used to be a rich and popular girl chasing after the school heartthrob, suddenly turned her sharp attitude towards the new guy. The onlookers were stunned. Was Sheng Nan trying to play hard to get? Sheng Nan ignored the gossip around her and gave a scornful glance at Ji Yulan Feng, who looked visibly upset. "Honestly, whether it's things or people, what you desperately want is something I couldn't care less about." She walked over to Sheng Mion, smiled, and said, "If you like it so much, you can have it. Consider it my gift to you." Sheng Nan then patted Sheng Mion's shoulder with a confident, almost arrogant demeanor. She knew Sheng Mion was the one who didn't want to make a big scene. "Are you okay?" Ji Yulan Feng asked Sheng Mion with concern. Sheng Mion shook her head. "I'm fine." Meanwhile, nearby girls were whispering to each other, "Do you think Sheng Nan doesn't like Ji Yulan Feng anymore?" Another girl lowered her voice. "It seems like it. Last time she said Ji Yulan Feng plays basketball like a baboon. You wouldn't say that about someone you like." Hearing these whispers, Ji Yulan Feng's face darkened. As Sheng Nan left the scene, she asked the system, "Sheng Mion is clearly no angel, so why is she the protagonist in this world?" The system replied in a monotone, "Because the world's fortune favors her. Even if she's a fake, virtuous type, she's destined for success in both career and love. You, on the other hand, are her contrast. Even if you start with good cards, you'll end up in a bad place for various reasons." Xingnan felt a mix of frustration and determination. She knew she had to act, or completing her mission would be tough. She had the system check on Yi Nanheng's whereabouts and found out he was working at a restaurant. When she arrived, she saw a man yelling at him, "You messed up this simple task. Do you have any idea how much that wine you broke costs? Can you even afford to pay for it?" Yi Nanheng was sweating nervously, apologizing in a low voice, "I'm sorry, manager." But the manager wasn't letting it go. "Sorry? Sorry won't cut it. Pay for it then. This case of wine costs 888 yuan. Yi Nanheng's knuckles turned white as he clenched his fingers on the floor. He had only earned 200 yuan after moving all those goods, and his mom wasn't feeling well these days. He needed money to take her to the hospital. Xingnan remembered that Yi Nanheng had a seriously ill mother and that he had to work multiple part-time jobs to cover her medical expenses. In the original plot, the protagonist had deliberately caused trouble, leading to Yi Nanheng getting fired, forcing him to comply with her demands. She played with the vulnerable boy's life like a cat with a mouse, knowing that every cent he earned was his mother's lifeline. No wonder Yi Nanheng retaliated harshly later on. Seeing the manager raising his hand, about to hit Yi Nanheng, Xingnan finally stepped in. She walked up to the manager and slapped a wad of cash on him. "Here's a few hundred. Consider it paid. Now keep your mouth shut and don't go hitting people." The manager's attitude shifted instantly upon seeing the money. "You're lucky today, kid. Get out of here, you don't need to finish today's work." Xingnan then walked over to Yi Nanheng and gave him a slight nod. "Hey, you all right?" Yi Nanheng stood up silently, still pale. Xingnan raised an eyebrow. "If I remember correctly, I just helped you. Is this how you treat someone who does you a favor?" Yi Nanheng's expression remained indifferent as he spoke. "What do you want from me this time?" Xingnan walked forward casually, smirking a bit. "Looking at you now, what could I possibly have you do? Just follow me." Yi Nanheng took a deep breath and followed her. After a moment, Xingnan asked, "What's going on with you? You really short on money?" She knew it was a dumb question, and Yi Nanheng didn't bother answering. Xingnan stopped, turned to him, and said, "If you work for me, you're basically my person. Letting other people yell at you or hit you is like slapping me in the face. That's not cool." She pulled out her phone and transferred 5,000 yuan to him. "Here, this is your salary. From now on, just listen to me, got it?" Yi Nanheng's expression hardened. He hated this idiot, but he really needed the money right now. Reluctantly, he whispered, "Understood. What do you need me to do?" He knew that taking her money wouldn't be easy and was prepared to be humiliated or mocked. But to his surprise, Xingnan smiled happily and waved him off. "All right, since you're not feeling well, I'll give you a few days off. Go home." To fix her reputation with the antagonist and save herself from potential trouble, Xingnan changed her usual domineering attitude from the original plot. She stepped in to help Yi Nanheng, gave him money, and tried to get closer to him. She knew that the main reason for Yi Nanheng turning dark was his financial struggles and not being able to treat his mom. Xingnan started thinking about how to keep giving him money without being too obvious. She finally came up with a plan, pulled out her phone, created a new account, and sent Yi Nanheng a friend request, pretending to be a game booster. Yi Nanheng had been looking for side gigs online, like doing homework for others, playing games with people, or leveling up game accounts. This way, Xingnan could pretend to need game account leveling and get Yi Nanheng to make some money. When Yi Nanheng saw the friend request, he raised an eyebrow but accepted it and sent a smiley face back. The other person quickly responded, "Hey, need my game account boosted to level 85 ASAP." Yi Nanheng replied, "You gotta pay up front." The other side promptly transferred 5,000 yuan. "Boosting might need more money. I'll pay you first, and if it's not enough, I'll cover the rest later." Yi Nanheng paused and then typed back, "Thanks, boss." Even though it felt a bit weird how quickly they paid, at least he now had money to take his mom to the hospital. After transferring the money, Sheng Nan deliberately chatted with Yi Nanheng for a while. When the system notified her that his negative points had dropped by 5, she felt satisfied and went to sleep. The next day at school, everyone was buzzing with excitement. Sheng Nan found out that a film crew was coming to shoot a scene at the school. She remembered from the original plot that Sheng Mion was discovered by the director on this day, auditioned, and landed a small role in the film, eventually entering the entertainment industry. Sheng Nan walked away, not interested at all. But just then, she heard a voice behind her. When she turned around, she saw a man with bright eyes walking quickly towards her. "I'm Han Fang, the assistant director of When the Wind Blows. We're shooting at your school and have a supporting role. Are you interested in auditioning?" Sheng Nan was stunned and found the situation both amusing and annoying. In the original story, Sheng Nan had also gone to the playground out of curiosity and greed. There, she bumped into the assistant director, and when she found out that Sheng Mion was also auditioning, she hesitated for a moment but then decided to give it a try. She wanted to see what made the world's female lead so special. Was it really just her charisma that allowed her to succeed effortlessly? Just as Sheng Nan was on her way to the classroom, she encountered Sheng Mion, who had been waiting for her. The two stared each other down intensely. Sheng Mion smirked and approached Sheng Nan, lowering her voice. "Are you trying to compete with me on purpose?" Sheng Nan grinned widely. "Yep, you got it." With no one else around, Sheng Mion didn't bother to keep up any pretense. She glared at Sheng Nan and said through gritted teeth, "Are you really so jealous of me that you want to fight over this audition?" Sheng Nan laughed. "Jealous? Of you?" Sheng Mion's face twisted in anger, and Sheng Nan whistled a tune as she walked past her, heading back to the classroom. But just as she brushed past Sheng Mion, there was a sudden gasp, and Sheng Mion dramatically fell backward, shouting, "No, don't." When Sheng Nan turned around, she saw Sheng Mion sprawled in a flower bed, struggling to get up, covered in dirt and looking terrified. At first, Sheng Nan was surprised, but then she couldn't help but laugh. Was this really Sheng Mion's strategy? It was effective, but the act was just too ridiculous and pathetic. By this time, other students had gathered around, drawn by the noise. Seeing Sheng Mion in the flower bed with her clothes dirty and her eyes red from crying, they began to point fingers and blame Sheng Nan. Sheng Nan already knew the security cameras here were broken, which is why Sheng Mion was so bold. Seeing Sheng Mion's smug expression, Sheng Nan walked up and slapped her across the face. The surrounding students gasped in shock, and immediately, someone pushed Sheng Nan away. Jiyu Lanfeng's instinctive action was stronger than intended, causing Sheng Nan to fall to the ground. Sheng Nan sat there for a moment, stunned, then laughed. "Really, Jiyu Lanfeng? You want to fight me?" Sheng Nan rolled up her sleeves, ready to throw down. Just then, a teacher arrived, pulling them apart and ordering them back to the classroom. The teacher told Sheng Nan, Sheng Mion, and Jiyu Lanfeng to follow him to the office. Unable to fight anymore, Sheng Nan pointed at Jiyu Lanfeng and sneered, "Remember this, we'll finish this later." As the three were led away by the teacher, no one noticed a man in the distance, recording the scene on his phone. Watching the video, Shang Yu looked satisfied. Are all girls this crafty nowadays? That Leslie girl really is just as fierce as her file shows. In the teacher's office, the principal looked serious. Sheng Nan, why did you push your classmate? Sheng Nan shook her head. I didn't push her. Jiyu Lanfeng interrupted coldly. Oh, really? And you didn't slap her either? Sheng Nan turned to Jiyu Lanfeng, speaking slowly and clearly. I slapped her because she framed me. Did you actually see me push her? Jiyu Lanfeng was momentarily speechless. He hadn't seen Sheng Nan push anyone, but wasn't it obvious? She already had a reputation for this kind of thing. The teacher in charge asked, so why were you two arguing? Sheng Mion, speaking softly, said, Sheng Nan is my cousin. I heard she's been bullying Yi Nanheng lately, making him run errands for her, so I wanted to talk to her about it. I didn't expect this. Yi Nanheng is the top student in our grade. Even though his family is poor, he's excellent in both character and academics. Hearing this, the teacher's expression darkened. He immediately called for Yi Nanheng. A few moments later, Yi Nanheng knocked and entered the room. The teacher asked him directly. Sheng Mian said Xing Nan has been bullying you and making you run errands. Is this true? Yi Nanheng hesitated, then admitted she did get paid for it, which was as good as confirming it. He thought to himself, at least I don't owe Sheng Mian anymore. The teacher slammed his desk in anger, his face turning red. Xing Nan, bullying classmates and paying them for favors? Where did you learn such bad behavior? Go home and write a reflection, and bring your parents to school. This matter will be dealt with seriously. Xing Nan chuckled lightly and looked up, asking earnestly, which specific incident are you talking about? I didn't push Xing Mian. If the school wants to punish me for that, please provide evidence. Otherwise, I won't be calling my parents, but a lawyer instead. The teacher was stunned. A lawyer? You dare threaten me with a lawyer? I'm not threatening anyone, Xing Nan replied calmly. But if the school can't get to the truth, I have to protect myself legally. If it's about Yi Nanheng, I paid him for the errands. It was a fair deal, agreed by both sides. Unless Yi Nanheng thinks it wasn't fair and he didn't do it voluntarily. Xing Nan turned to Yi Nanheng, who nodded and said, Teacher, I did it voluntarily. The teacher in charge glanced at Sheng Mian, who was nervously biting her lip. But then she relaxed, realizing she didn't need solid proof that Sheng Nan pushed her. As long as the rumor spread and the film crew heard about it, that would be enough. The teacher's face darkened as he shot Sheng Nan a stern look. You all go back to class. I'll think about how to handle this. Sheng Nan turned and walked out without looking back. Later that night, Xing Nan was chatting with Yi Nanheng online and found out that his mom was in the hospital and needed surgery ASAP. Xing Nan mentioned that she knew a foreign doctor, Dr. Lauren, who might be able to help. Yi Nanheng didn't take his online friend's word seriously. But since this friend, who went by the username Destiny Changer, had always been pretty nice, Yi Nanheng felt a small glimmer of hope. $10,000 in hopes. The cost for the test treatment was astronomical, way out of his reach. But just a few days later, one morning, Yi Nanheng was woken up by a phone call while sitting in the hospital. He was annoyed at first, but when he saw the message from Destiny Changer, his eyes lit up in shock. This online friend had actually managed to bring Dr. Lauren to their country. He gripped his phone tightly, realizing that this person must be someone extraordinary. Meanwhile, Xing Nan put her phone away and learned from customer service that Yi Nanheng's negativity level had dropped to 60%. She let out a sigh of relief, not paying attention to her own situation. Now, Xing Nan's reputation at school was in tatters. First, she pretended to be a rich girl, and then she publicly bullied Sheng Mian. When the drama club found out about her school antics, they decided not to cast her anymore, which was exactly Sheng Mian's goal. Xing Nan chuckled. Was she really that scared Xing Mian would steal her role? As Xing Nan turned around, a girl ran past her at lightning speed. Xing Nan glanced at her and realized it was Zhao Ying, one of her fake friends who had always hung around the original Xing Nan. Curious, Xing Nan wondered why Zhao Ying was heading to the rooftop right before class. Something seemed off. After a moment of hesitation, Xing Nan sprinted to the teacher's office. Soon, she brought a teacher to the rooftop, where they found Zhao Ying standing dangerously close to the edge. The teacher's face changed instantly. If something's wrong, talk to us. Don't do anything foolish. Zhao Ying had fallen into a loan trap, owing a staggering $100,000. The loan sharks had posted her semi-nude photos on the school forum. Just as Zhao Ying moved closer to the edge, Xing Nan shouted, "Wait! No matter what's going on, I can help you." Zhao Ying paused, tears streaming down her face. "You can't help me. I borrowed $8,000, and now it's $100,000. My parents don't know, and they have no money. I can't face them. I've let them down." As Zhao Ying spoke, her hand slipped on the old, rusty railing, which creaked and tilted dangerously. She screamed as she started to fall, but Sheng Nan lunged forward and grabbed her wrist. The force nearly dragged Sheng Nan over the edge too, but she held on with all her strength. Zhao Ying screamed and struggled, and Sheng Nan gritted her teeth. "Don't move, I can't hold on much longer." Zhao Ying closed her eyes and shouted, "Just let go. I can't pay off the debt anyway, my life is over." The teacher held onto Sheng Nan tightly as she endured the intense pain in her arms. "It's just $100,000. I'll pay it off for you." Zhao Ying laughed bitterly. "You're just a fake rich girl. You don't have that kind of money. Stop lying." At that moment, Ji Lanfeng and some other students and teachers arrived. He leaned over and reached out his hand for Zhao Ying to grab with her other hand. As he glanced to the side, he saw Sheng Nan's arms bleeding heavily from the scrapes, her whole body trembling, but she held on with all her strength. Once they pulled Zhao Ying up, Sheng Nan collapsed to the ground, crying uncontrollably. The teachers breathed a sigh of relief, their hearts pounding with fear. Sheng Nan, after catching her breath, took out her phone and said to Zhao Ying, "Give me your account info. I'll transfer the money right now. But I have one condition, you have to tell me how you keep your figure so good." Zhao Ying was stunned. "What?" As Sheng Nan transferred the money, she said casually, "I saw your photos. You have an amazing body, and it's not like you were nude. So what if people saw them? It's no different from wearing a swimsuit." Zhao Ying, taken aback by Sheng Nan's words, realized, yeah, they're just lingerie photos. Lots of people wear swimsuits. What's the big deal? Then she checked her phone and saw the $100,000 had been transferred. She was so shocked that she fainted. In the nurse's office, Shang Yu was treating Sheng Nan's arms and jokingly asked, "What happened to you? What an idiot, trying to jump off a building over something so trivial." Shang Yu looked at her and sighed. "You know, risking your life to save her seems kind of pointless if she's that dumb." Sheng Nan rolled her eyes. "But hey, everyone has their own issues. Just because she made a dumb decision doesn't mean she deserves to die." After saying that, she turned and walked away casually. Behind her, Shang Yu raised an eyebrow, impressed. The Norman family was known for their pride and coldness, but this young Miss Norman showed a surprising amount of compassion. The information Shang Yu had received painted Miss Norman as arrogant, foolish, and mean-spirited, but her current behavior didn't match that description at all. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Sheng Nan felt the awkward atmosphere as she entered the room. Zhao Ying cleared her throat and spoke first. "From now on, Sheng Nan is like my sister. Anyone bad-mouthing her will have to deal with me." The group of girls immediately chimed in, "You don't have to tell us. After what she did, she's earned our respect." Some girls rolled their eyes and whispered, "Guess we don't have to pretend anymore." Sheng Nan found it hard to believe. Growing up as a rich girl, she never had to fake it, so she couldn't relate to their struggle of pretending. After visiting Zhao Ying, Sheng Nan left the room and remembered that Yi Nanheng's mother was also in the hospital. As she reached the elevator, she overheard a conversation from the nearby stairwell. "It's rare for Dr. Lauren to come to the country. If we brought him here specifically, the cost would be several times higher." Then Sheng Nan heard Yi Nanheng's voice, sounding rough and hoarse. "How much do you think it will cost?" "About $30,000. I'm using as much of the insurance-covered medicine as possible, but this is the lowest budget," replied the doctor. The stairwell fell silent, and Sheng Nan stood there, thinking quickly. Yi Nanheng had brought the doctor here, but it was clear he couldn't afford the treatment. If she lent him the money for his mom's surgery, he'd have to be grateful, right? At the very least, he wouldn't be able to mess with her anymore. Yi Nanheng emerged from the stairwell, looking troubled. When he saw Sheng Nan, he paused for a moment. She gave an awkward smile. "I overheard your conversation with the doctor. If you need help with the surgery costs, I can lend you the money." Yi Nanheng was taken aback, and then his eyes filled with suspicion. He stared at her, his voice cold. "What are you trying to do?" Sheng Nan was stunned. She knew Yi Nanheng was distrustful, but she didn't expect him to be so guarded even in such a desperate situation. If his mom didn't make it like in the original story, she'd be in big trouble too. If she didn't come up with a good reason, Yi Nanhang might think she was mocking him in another way. She needed a flawless excuse, or this mission would be doomed. To make it through this plotline and ensure the future villain wouldn't kill her, Sheng Nan grabbed Yi Nanhang's sleeve. "Don't go," she said urgently. Yi Nanhang stopped and turned back, his eyes dark and intense. Sheng Nan knew she only had one chance to convince him, or this mission would be over for real. Sheng Nan decided to just go for it. "All right, fine. I like you and I want to date you. If you agree, I'll lend you the money for your mom's surgery." Yi Nanhang was stunned, completely caught off guard by her sudden confession. He couldn't help but feel mocked. Just a few days ago, Sheng Nan was all over Ji Yulan phone, and now she's claiming to have feelings for him? Yi Nanhang laughed coldly to himself, though his face remained expressionless. Sheng Nan was desperate and didn't care about her pride anymore. She tried to look shy as she continued, "If you agree to be my boyfriend for 6 months, I'll give you the money for the surgery. You can decide when or if you want to pay me back." Sheng Nan knew that Yi Nanhang's rich dad would probably find him within 6 months. In the meantime, she could use this as a chance to help him and earn some goodwill, right? Yi Nanhang was full of disdain, but couldn't deny the truth. This was his only chance to save his mom. He figured Sheng Nan was just trying to humiliate him in some new way. But as long as his mom got the surgery, he could play along. With that thought, Yi Nanhang looked up at Sheng Nan, who immediately transferred $40,000 to him. This should cover the surgery and the follow-up care. I added a bit more just in case. You can remind me if you want a receipt. Sheng Nan cleared her throat, testing the waters. So, from now on, you're my boyfriend. If you have any problems, just let me know. As your girlfriend, I won't stand by and do nothing. And if things don't work out between us, I hope you'll help me if I ever need it." Yi Nanhang gave a faint, indifferent nod. Sheng Nan let out a huge sigh of relief and felt much better. "All right then, you go ahead and take care of your stuff. I'll come visit your mom another day." She waved goodbye to Yi Nanhang with a smile and walked away. Watching her leave, Yi Nanhang had a complicated look on his face. When Sheng Nan got home, she made a video call to Leslie Norman, the father of the body's original owner, and checked the details about Leslie's accident in the original storyline. Leslie would attend a party in 3 days, drink some poisoned wine, and the family would fall into a crisis, eventually leading to his death at the hands of their enemies. Leslie's fate was crucial for Sheng Nan's status in this world. The original owner's downfall happened because people bullied her after her parents were gone. When the call connected, the man on the other end looked gentle and kind. "Sheng Nan, my little princess, how are you doing abroad?" Sheng Nan put on a scared and pitiful expression and told Leslie she had a bad dream. She said she dreamt he would go to the Valenza family's party in 3 days, drink a glass of champagne, and suddenly collapse, vomiting blood. Sheng Nan looked terrified. "Daddy, I saw you in a blue suit, wearing the tie I gave you, but it was covered in blood. Daddy, I'm really scared." Leslie smiled helplessly. "Sweetie, don't worry, it's just a dream. Daddy will be fine." But just then, there was a knock on the study door. An assistant came in with a suit. "Sir, here's the suit for the party in 3 days. What do you think?" "I think it goes well with the tie Miss Song Ning gave you last time." Leslie's face instantly turned serious. He took the blue suit and his expression became calm, but his tone didn't change at all. He gently reassured his daughter, pretending to agree not to attend the party or drink any alcohol, and then hung up the phone. Sheng Nan was relieved to know that Leslie had taken her warning seriously. As long as he stayed away from poison, his situation should be okay. The next afternoon, Mrs. Wang came to find Sheng Nan because Sheng Mian had gone to shoot a drama. Sheng Mian was supposed to play a piano solo at the school celebration but had to drop out, so Mrs. Wang wanted Sheng Nan to step in. Sheng Nan remembered that the original owner of her body had learned to play an instrument before, but she herself had never tried it. After some hesitation, she decided to give it a shot. Mrs. Wang agreed and immediately took Sheng Nan to the music room. She turned on the lights, revealing a black piano that shimmered coldly yet elegantly. "Just play whatever, don't be nervous." "It's all good," Mrs. Wang encouraged gently. Sheng Nan nodded, walked over to the piano bench, and slowly touched the keys. The cold, smooth feel was unfamiliar but somehow felt deeply ingrained in her. As her fingers danced over the keys, she played a piece, and Mrs. Wang's surprised and impressed voice came from behind her, "Sheng Nan, I knew I wasn't wrong. You're amazing." The day of the school celebration arrived, and Zhao Ying and a few others rushed backstage, worried and curious. When they saw Sheng Nan in a champagne-colored dress with her hair styled in a bun, they were taken aback. They suddenly found it a bit funny that Sheng Mian was considered the school's top beauty. Even with all their experience, they were still concerned and told Sheng Nan seriously that she needed to have real skills and not just pretend to be a rich and beautiful girl. "Can you really handle it on stage?" they asked. Sheng Nan rubbed her forehead, a bit annoyed, and reassured them, "Don't worry, I should be fine." Back then, Ji Yulan Feng used to dislike Sheng Nan, especially with her always following him around. He didn't think much of her. But when he saw her in a cute dress with light makeup, he was unexpectedly stunned. For a moment, he just stood there, feeling something he couldn't quite understand. Nearby, a few girls who were also performing started to mock Sheng Nan. "She's really trying to compete with Sheng Mian in everything. Isn't she just asking for humiliation? So amusing." Ji Yulan Feng frowned, feeling a bit annoyed but didn't intervene. Just then, a shadow fell over the girls, and they immediately covered their mouths, looking embarrassed. Sheng Nan smirked. "Jiao Jiao, your double eyelids are practically glued to your eyebrows, and you still dare to go on stage? Anyone would think a sad frog was dancing. Jiaolo, that dress on you is a disaster waiting to happen. Aren't you afraid the zipper will burst while you're dancing? And Yi Fei, seriously, your face looks like a car crash. Instead of talking about others, why don't you fix your own makeup?" Sheng Nan glared at the girls. "You all look like a country band performing at a pharmacy opening. It's really something to see." After her barrage of insults, Sheng Nan turned on her heel and walked away confidently. The girls were left speechless and fuming. Ji Yulan Feng was a bit taken aback but also felt like laughing. Sheng Nan's words were sharp, but she was spot on. She now seemed like a kitten showing its claws. The school celebration soon started, and it was Sheng Nan's turn to perform. As the spotlight hit the piano, Sheng Nan sat down, facing the audience sideways. She pressed the first key, and cheerful music flowed from her fingertips. She seemed to be surrounded by an ethereal yet warm glow. Ji Yulan Feng stood not far backstage, watching Sheng Nan's slender silhouette. It suddenly felt like he was seeing her for the first time. Ever since Sheng Nan had saved Zhao Ying without hesitation on the rooftop that day, Ji Yulan Feng's opinion of her had changed significantly. A girl willing to risk her life to save someone couldn't be as bad as people thought. In the audience, Yi Nanheng was also watching Sheng Nan from a distance. He slightly raised his head, seemingly looking into the void ahead. For a moment, Yi Nanheng felt a bit emotional. Could someone who grew up so wild and unruly really evoke such feelings? After her performance, Sheng Nan stood up and took a bow, greeted by thunderous applause, whistles, and cheers from the audience. She stepped off the stage and headed towards the dressing room to change clothes. As soon as she reached the dressing room, she heard clapping. Shang Yu stood there, smiling and complimenting her performance. "I heard you stepped in because your cousin went off to shoot a movie," Shang Yu said playfully, referring to the day Sheng Main had intentionally tripped by the flower bed. Sheng Nan straightened up. "You saw that?" Shang Yu waved his phone. "Not only did I see it, but I also recorded it. Should I make it public?" Sheng Nan raised an eyebrow, wary. "What do you want?" Shang Yu's smile widened. "Nothing harmful. I'm here to help." I could release the video. Sheng Yu's smile faded as he moved closer to Sheng Nan. But in return, you have to do something for me. Sheng Nan asked, what do you want? Sheng Yu thought for a moment, then smiled again. I haven't figured it out yet. But I want to keep this opportunity open. In the next instant, Sheng Nan rejected him without hesitation. No thanks. Sheng Yu was puzzled and looked at Sheng Nan. I don't care if people misunderstand me, and I'm definitely not going to pay some unknown price just to change their opinions. Sheng Yu straightened up and then laughed. I didn't realize you were so sharp. Fine, do what you want. Sheng Nan rolled her eyes. If there's nothing else, I'm leaving. Without giving Sheng Yu a chance to respond, she turned and went into the dressing room. Sheng Yu raised an eyebrow in amusement. Most girls try desperately to get close to him, but Sheng Nan was the complete opposite, always keeping her distance. He thought to himself that she must like that campus heartthrob, Ji Yulan phone. Typical kids with their undeveloped tastes. The school's anniversary celebration was a great success. Meanwhile, Sheng Mion, who was on set, had known that Sheng Nan would step in for her and perform the piano solo. She didn't think much of it, though. When she saw the group chat mocking Sheng Nan, she felt a rush of pleasure. An actor from the same set noticed and asked, Sheng Mion, what are you looking at? Sheng Mion smiled slightly, pretending to feel guilty. I couldn't attend the school celebration because of the shoot, so they had to find someone to fill in. I hope it didn't mess up the event. The actor, also a supporting role, quickly flattered her. No one can compare to you. Don't feel bad, filming here is more important. Do well, and you'll be a star. Sheng Mion had intended to use this chance to shame Sheng Nan, but things didn't go as planned. Despite her words of guilt, she eagerly opened the video. That's my cousin, she said. Her skills should be decent too. Sheng Mion felt a burst of joy inside. Everyone, come see how Sheng Nan embarrasses herself. At first, the group huddled together, constantly mocking Sheng Nan. But as the piano music flowed, their expressions became hard to describe. They glanced at Sheng Mion, whose face looked conflicted. Was this level of performance really something she needed to worry about? Or could Sheng Mion really outshine this girl? Sheng Mion's smug look quickly faded, replaced by a stiff expression, her face turning pale. She felt a burning embarrassment, even though the people around her hadn't said a word, and quietly walked away. Sheng Mion could still feel their eyes filled with ridicule, making her slam her phone shut in frustration. She kept telling herself, it's fine, it's fine. So what if Sheng Nan has a moment in the spotlight? It's just a silly school event. After all, she was on set right now, and once the drama aired, she'd be the one everyone knew. What did Sheng Nan's little performance matter? Soon, it was Sheng Mion's turn to film, and coincidentally, she had to shoot a scene where she played the piano. With her makeup perfectly done, Sheng Mion sat at the piano, fingers poised over the keys, a scene that should have been second nature to her. But for some reason, her nerves kicked in, and she played a few wrong notes. Her expression froze as she quickly stopped, ready to start over, only to hear the director yell at her. We'll fix it in post-production. You're too flustered. Do we have to redo even the simplest scenes? The director scolded, snapping Sheng Mion out of her daze. She apologized repeatedly, face turning pale again. The other actors exchanged looks, their snickers quietly reaching her ears. Even though she knew the mistake was her own, she found herself blaming Sheng Nan once again. The day after the school celebration was the weekend. Early that morning, Sheng Nan went to the hospital. Yi Nanheng's mother had just finished surgery. Seeing Sheng Nan's concerned look, Yi Nanheng, usually reserved, managed a rare smile. Thank you. My mom's surgery was a success, and her condition is stable, Yi Nanheng said gratefully. Sheng Nan smiled warmly, waving it off. No need to thank me. I know you've been busy taking care of her alone. Since it's Saturday, I'll stay and help too. Sheng Nan stayed quiet for a moment before speaking calmly. If you need me to do anything, just let me know. Yi Nanheng immediately sensed her hesitation. He didn't believe her reasons for helping. He still thought she had ulterior motives. Sheng Nan looked a bit hurt. Come on, we're dating now. You don't have to be so distant. She glanced up, meeting Yi Nanheng's somewhat dim expression. He frowned slightly, staying silent. Sheng Nan sighed and said, I know you don't like me. How about this, let's not bother with any next year's stuff. Just be my boyfriend for 3 months, and then we'll break up. How's that? Yi Nanheng looked at her, paused, and slowly nodded. All right. Sheng Nan immediately broke into a smile. Great, it's settled then. You take care of your mom, and call me if you need anything. She waved at him cheerfully and walked away. Yi Nanheng watched her leave, his brows furrowing in suspicion. He couldn't figure out what she was really up to. There was no way she genuinely liked him, that would be too ridiculous. Sheng Nan hadn't even left the hospital when she got a message from Xing Mingshan. Xing Mingshan was taking her to a friend's son's wedding, and Leslie had already sent over jewelry and a dress. Sheng Nan had done her research. Leslie's downfall and eventual death were ultimately due to his choosing the wrong allies. Leslie had tried to gain power within the Norman family. He chose to work with the eldest son of the Field family, Baron Field, thinking he had the most influence. But what he didn't know was that, behind the scenes, the entire Field family had fallen into the hands of an illegitimate son named Shang Yu, who was half Field. Leslie had teamed up with Shang Yu's brother, who helped him fight against his enemies within the Norman family, while Leslie helped him against Shang Yu. But in the end, Baron Field lost in the power struggle, and Leslie was caught in the crossfire, facing Shang Yu's ruthless revenge. Surrounded by enemies, he quickly fell and lost his life. Thinking of this, Sheng Nan couldn't help but feel helpless. Should she try to find a way to let Leslie know that Shang Yu was the real winner of the Field family power struggle? The next evening, Sheng Nan followed Xing Mingshan to the engagement banquet at the hotel. As soon as they entered, she casually spotted Sheng Mian and her mother across the room. Sheng Mingshan's friend was also acquainted with Sheng Nan's uncle, who had been living abroad lately. So it was Zhu Ayu and her daughter attending the event in his place, and Zhu Ayu was wearing the necklace that she had once borrowed from Sheng Mingshan. The mother and daughter were boldly wearing a fake necklace, assuming that Sheng Mingshan wouldn't make a fuss over it. Sheng Mingshan ignored them completely and led Sheng Nan inside, but as soon as she turned, she unexpectedly bumped into someone, her face colliding with a hard chest. Sheng Nan immediately straightened up. "I'm sorry," she said, but her expression darkened as soon as she saw who it was. "Sheng Nan, it's you." She was wearing a lavender off-shoulder dress that revealed her smooth shoulders and delicate collarbones. Jiyu Lanfeng had a moment of distraction. "Are you all right?" he asked softly. Sheng Nan shook her head and turned to leave. "I have something to do. I'm going now." Sheng Nan didn't even spare him another glance as she tried to avoid him. Jiyu Lanfeng instinctively wanted to say something, but just then, a voice chimed in from the side. "Lanfeng!" Sheng Mian called out as she walked over with two girls around the same age, holding her dress up. She smiled at Jiyu Lanfeng and then looked warmly at Sheng Nan. "Sheng Nan, long time no see. I heard you covered for me last time during the school celebration. I never got a chance to thank you." Sheng Nan saw the provocation in Sheng Mian's eyes and immediately got fired up. She smiled sweetly. "Yeah, Mr. Wang mentioned it too. He said you practice so hard, but I didn't even need to practice and just went straight on stage." Sheng Mian's smile froze for a moment, and she looked a bit upset as she grabbed Sheng Nan's hand. "Sheng Nan, are you still upset about what happened at the disciplinary office last time? I didn't expect someone to call the teacher, and besides, I never blamed you. Sheng Nan, can we just let it go?" Before Sheng Nan could respond, someone next to Sheng Mian suddenly laughed and said, Mian, is this the cousin of yours who likes to pretend to be a rich girl? I heard she's mixed race, but she doesn't look like it. Nice dress, by the way. Where do you rent it from? Must have cost a lot. Better be careful not to get it dirty, it'll cost a fortune to clean." Jiyu Lanfeng's expression gradually darkened. Sheng Mian, noticing his reaction, immediately tried to smooth things over. "Hey, you guys, don't say that. Nan Nan is my cousin, after all." "But Nan Nan, they're just trying to look out for you. This dress isn't cheap, and you really wouldn't want to damage it." Xing Nan widened her eyes in an exaggerated manner and said, "No way, no way. Are people really still renting dresses these days?" "Oh, wait, I get it. Are all of your dresses rented too?" Sheng Mian and the other two girls froze, looking like they'd just been slapped after hitting a pillow. Seeing the conversation wasn't going their way, Sheng Mian tried to intervene with a faux concern. "Guys, don't say stuff like that. My cousin's family has been going through some tough times, so please don't be mean." Just then, another voice chimed in, "Wow, so this dress is yours?" A young woman approached quickly, her eyes gleaming as she admired Xing Nan's dress. "This dress is part of a family set designed by Mr. Rosa. I heard a gentleman brought it all the way back to gift his wife and daughter, and I can't believe I'm seeing it here." The woman was visibly excited, grabbing Sheng Nan's hand. "Miss, would you mind lending it to me for a couple of days once you're done wearing it? I love it so much, and I promise I'll take good care of it. In exchange, I'll give you a dress that I designed myself." Xing Nan was startled and instinctively tried to pull her hand away, but suddenly, a tall man appeared, lifting the woman up and setting her aside. He stood protectively in front of Xing Nan, his face blank and unwelcoming, making it clear that no one should come near. The group, along with the surrounding guests, were all taken aback. Sheng Mingshan quickly walked over and asked, "What's going on?" The man, with a cold expression, explained, "Someone was bothering Miss Norman." Xing Nan, feeling all eyes on her, awkwardly said, "I'm fine. I think she's a designer." The bodyguard still firmly told the designer, "You can step back now." The host immediately stepped in, forcing the designer away until she disappeared from sight. The designer stammered, "Did I do something wrong?" The host first apologized to Xing Nan, then turned to the designer with a look of pity. "You've lived abroad with your mentor for years, right? Haven't you heard of the Norman family?" The designer froze, her eyes widening in disbelief. "Are you saying?" The host nodded, looking both helpless and sympathetic. Sheng Mian, finally snapping out of her shock, looked horrified. Sheng Nan didn't even spare her a glance, simply turning away. "I'm tired. I'm leaving." Xing Mian clenched her fists tightly. Sheng Mingshan, her aunt, had always said she married a foreign artist, but what was all this about? Could Xing Nan really be rich and privileged? Xing Mian's expression grew complex, and her friend started grumbling. "No way, those people must be hired actors. This whole thing is ridiculous, bringing bodyguards like that, I can't stop laughing. Does your cousin have some kind of condition?" Xing Mian's lips twitched as she watched Jiyu Lanfeng walk by, struggling to force a smile. "It's been a while. Want to chat over there?" Jiyu Lanfeng frowned slightly before replying loudly, "Maybe another time." He turned and left as well. Sheng Mian stood there, her face shifting between pale and flushed, feeling that Jiyu Lanfeng's attitude towards her had changed. Was it just her imagination? Sheng Nan left the ballroom and went to the lounge. Leslie's protection for her and Xing Mingshan hadn't been this intense before. But now, as she entered the lounge, she noticed two bodyguards stationed in the hallway, clearly indicating that something was wrong on Leslie's side. She felt someone might be threatening her and Xing Mingshan's safety, leading to this heightened security. She thought back to her old life. Sure, her family wasn't the type to give out castles, but at least she felt safe. Suddenly, Sheng Nan heard a noise from the window. She instinctively turned and saw a knife being thrust through the gap in the window frame. Sheng Nan jumped in surprise, about to shout, but then she saw the person climbing through the window. It was Shang Yu. Shang Yu seemed equally shocked to see Sheng Nan in the room. He was gripping a gun in one hand and a knife in the other. After a brief pause, he squeezed through the window, quickly wiping away the bloodstains before closing it. Almost immediately, there was a knock on the door, and Xingnan heard the voice of Swart the bodyguard from outside, "Miss Norman." Shang Yu's expression changed several times before he tucked the weapons behind his waist and put on a helpless, vulnerable look, gazing pitifully at Xingnan. "Someone's chasing me, please help me." Xingnan was speechless. "Here we go again." Swart's voice sounded again, "Miss Norman, I'm coming in." The door lock clicked open, and a tall, muscular man in a black uniform stormed in, radiating danger. As soon as he saw Shang Yu standing nearby Xingnan, Swart and two other guards drew their guns, all aiming at Shang Yu. One of them said to Xingnan, "Miss Norman, he's from the Field family. He's dangerous. Please come over here." Xingnan knew that even if she didn't get involved, Shang Yu wouldn't be in real danger. So why not help him and have him owe a favor? The thought flashed in her mind. Shang Yu's expression was both innocent and pleading. "I didn't mean to hurt you. Someone's after me. If you don't help, I'm dead." Xingnan glanced at him, hesitated for a moment, and then stepped in front of Shang Yu. She turned to Swart and said, "He's my friend. I have to help him." Swart looked tense. "Miss Norman, he's with the Field family. Helping him might cause trouble for Mr. Norman." Xingnan mumbled under her breath. "I'm trying to save your boss. If Shang Yu is really in trouble today, it doesn't matter. But I've already heard that his people are nearby." Without moving from her spot, Xingnan coldly ordered the guards, "Get out." Her expression was blank as she said, "I don't know what's going on between you, but I have to save him today. You can tell my father, and he can decide." Swart's expression shifted, but in the end, he put away his weapon and left. Xingnan let out a sigh of relief. Shang Yu hadn't actually expected Xingnan to save him. He'd only put on the helpless act out of some twisted sense of humor. He didn't think Xingnan would really protect him, especially knowing the potential conflicts this might cause between Xingnan and her father. Xingnan stood there, silent, thinking about how to make the most of this situation, or if she was just wasting her time. After all, according to the original plot details, Shang Yu wasn't exactly someone who repaid kindness. Noticing Xingnan's expression, Shang Yu suddenly leaned in close and said, "You've helped me twice now. How do you think I should thank you?" His tone was teasing, ending with a soft, flirtatious hum right in Xingnan's ear. Xingnan thought for a moment and bluntly replied, "No need to thank me. Just don't hurt my family." Shang Yu raised an eyebrow slightly, but he didn't respond. Instead, he gave Xingnan an unreadable look, checked the time on his watch, and said, "I have to go. See you next time." With that, he moved back to the window and climbed out. The next morning, Xingnan suddenly received a text from an unknown number, a small gift to show my appreciation. Xingnan was confused, but something told her the message was from Shang Yu. What kind of gift? She found out soon enough. Shang Yu had leaked a video of Xing Mian framing her that day. The video spread quickly because it was tagged with the title of Xing Mian's ongoing drama, instantly transforming Xing Mian from the sweet, innocent girl next door to a manipulative, conniving green tea girl. On top of that, details about her borrowing a necklace and never returning it were exposed, and Xingnan gained some popularity from the buzz as well. After seeing the video, the production team immediately kicked Xing Mian out of the show. The school's disciplinary office called Xingnan in, and Director Zheng apologized. "I'm sorry, Xingnan, I misjudged you." Jiyu Lanfeng also bowed and said, "I should apologize too." Xingnan didn't dwell on it and instead told the director, "I can protect myself, but I hope teachers treat everyone equally in the future. That's what makes a school truly educational." The principal looked deeply moved, feeling both awkward and ashamed. He promised in a serious tone that the teachers would reflect on their actions. Beside him, Jiyu Lanfeng watched Xingnan, who remained calm and distant, her expression indifferent. His mind was a whirlwind of complicated feelings. After leaving the office, Jiyu Lanfeng hurried to catch up with Xingnan. "Wait, Xingnan," he called out. Xingnan turned back, looking puzzled. Jiyu Lanfeng hesitated, then apologized again. "I'm really sorry, I shouldn't have pushed you that time." But please believe me, I only wanted to break you two apart. Pushing you was never intentional. Xingnan glanced at him and gave a slight smirk. Forget it, it was a long time ago. Jiyu Lanfeng looked tense. Have you forgiven me? He asked cautiously. Xingnan paused, then smiled. I said, forget it. She turned and walked away without another word. Jiyu Lanfeng stood there, his face conflicted. He realized Xingnan's forget it didn't mean forgiveness. It just meant she wasn't going to bother with such trivial matters anymore. But it didn't mean she wasn't still hurt or that she'd actually forgiven him. Not every instance of letting go means moving on. Jiyu Lanfeng's mind replayed countless moments of Xingnan, her focused gaze always shining, but at some point, Xingnan had become more and more distant. With a sigh, Jiyu Lanfeng clenched his fists, feeling a mix of bitterness and regret. Meanwhile, Xingnan didn't spare him another glance. Her only focus was on her future target, the main villain, Yi Nanheng. As long as she could keep both Yi Nanheng and Shang Yu on her side, she'd make it to the end of the plot unscathed. Deep in thought, Xingnan made her way to Yi Nanheng's classroom. He sat quietly, absorbed in his studies, detached from the lively chatter around him as if he were in a different world. Xingnan walked right up, sat in the chair in front of him, and tapped the desk lightly. Yi Nanheng looked up from his work, his pen pausing mid-air. He saw her face, smiling mischievously, eyes filled with cunning. Sunlight illuminated her face, turning her hair a light golden hue. At that moment, Yi Nanheng clearly felt a thump in his chest. The two of them stepped out into the stairwell to discuss Yi Nanheng's mom's health. Although they were technically a couple, they were almost too polite with each other. Xingnan didn't think much of it and got straight to the point. I heard you're giving up your spot in the provincial math competition? Xingnan asked. Yi Nanheng was slightly surprised that she brought it up but nodded. The provincial competition required 10 days of training, and his mom had just had surgery. She needed someone with her, and there was no way he could leave for that long. Xingnan immediately understood his dilemma. Don't worry about it, I can help take care of your mom. I'm not great at caregiving, but I can hire a nurse, and I'll be there to supervise. If you're still worried, I can get 2 or even 3 nurses. I promise your mom will be well taken care of. Yi Nanheng felt like he couldn't keep up with her train of thought and was a little overwhelmed. Xingnan pressed on, this competition could get you a spot in a top university. Your grades are excellent, aren't you afraid you'll regret missing this opportunity? If your mom finds out you gave this up because of her, she'll feel guilty. Plus, overcoming this small challenge now will put you on a more secure path for your future. It'll also put you in a better position to take care of her later. Xingnan was trying hard to persuade him. If you secure a good future for yourself, you'll be able to handle any difficulties on your own. You won't have to rely on deals like this just to help your mom. Yi Nanheng lifted his head to look at her, his expression complicated. Xingnan's offer was sincere. In the past, he would have brushed off someone who once took pleasure in humiliating him, but now he understood how important this competition was. Finally, he nodded slowly. All right, please take good care of my mom for me. Xingnan sighed in relief and smiled. No worries, I'll update you on her condition every day. Yi Nanheng thanked her quietly. Xingnan grinned playfully. Oh, it's nothing. Just don't forget to look out for me when you're successful in the future. Because of what happened before, Xingnan shot to the top of the school beauty rankings, and no matter where she went, people would secretly glance at her. Meanwhile, the former school beauty, Xing Mian, became a total outcast. If the school hadn't warned her that she'd be expelled if she didn't come back soon, Xing Mian probably would have kept hiding. Seeing everyone praise Xingnan while also trash-talking her drove Xing Mian over the edge. She completely lost it and rushed over to confront her. Xingnan could tell Xing Mian was super emotional, almost out of control. You did this on purpose, didn't you? You recorded the video and didn't say anything at the time, but waited until I had everything, then released it so I'd fall from grace and become a joke. You're good at this. Are you satisfied now? Jiao Ying, standing next to Sheng Nan, stepped in before she could respond. Nan, don't bother with her, or she might throw herself on the ground again. Another girl from their group laughed and chimed in, oh, so it's the former school beauty. Wow, look at you now. You used to pretend to be all nice, but now you can't even fake it anymore. At least Nan only pretends to be rich, you were pretending to be a whole person. As Sheng Nan listened, something felt off. Why were they dissing her too? She looked at Tang Yuran, but Tang Yuran seemed totally unaware, gearing up for another round of roasting Sheng Mion. Sheng Nan felt powerless. She almost forgot how clueless her friends could be sometimes. The next 10 days flew by with her boyfriend. When Yi Nanheng walked out of the exam hall, he noticed a lot of parents waiting outside for their kids. He glanced at them and then looked away, ready to head straight back to the hospital. But then, he froze. Right there, in the crowd, was his mom sitting in a wheelchair, with Sheng Nan holding an umbrella, standing beside her. His mom had recovered enough to sit up and was wearing a hat. She looked way better than she did before the surgery. Sheng Nan stood there with a bright smile, looking totally proud, and Yi Nanheng felt both shocked and a bit overwhelmed by it all. This was the first time someone had ever waited for him after an exam. As he started walking toward them, he realized his steps felt strangely light. As soon as Yi Nanheng reached them, Sheng Nan looped her arm through his. Don't worry, Auntie Yi is recovering well. We're heading home now, everything's ready for your celebration. His mom couldn't help but smile, even though she was trying to stay serious. Sheng Nan insists on celebrating for you, and I couldn't stop her. Now you really have no choice but to have done well on your exams, right? Jing Nan blinked and teased, you didn't bomb your exams, did you, Nanheng? For a moment, Yi Nanheng found himself looking into the eyes of both Sheng Nan and his mom. It was one of the rare times he let his teenage self show, raising an eyebrow playfully. Later, when Yi Nanheng got home, he almost thought he had walked into the wrong house. The place looked completely different. It had basically been remodeled, the dark, messy rooms were now bright and neatly organized. There was so much more space. He instinctively looked at Sheng Nan, who grinned. So, what do you think? I've got pretty good taste, right? Yi Nanheng had a hard time processing it. Only a rich girl could turn cleaning the house into a full-blown renovation. Yi Nanheng sighed, and Sheng Nan smugly lifted her chin. Now, tell me, isn't dating a rich girl worth it? Yi Nanheng gave her a long look and muttered, as long as you're happy, before walking quickly into the kitchen. As he turned, his face and ears were flushed red. Sheng Nan finally breathed a sigh of relief and quickly asked the system to check Yi Nanheng's corruption level. A moment later, the system reported back, target, Yi Nanheng. Corruption level, 40%. Sheng Nan's smile grew even bigger. After dinner, Sheng Nan left, and Yi Nanheng's mom hesitantly asked, Nanheng, did that Sheng Nan help us out a lot? Mom. Can I ask why she's helping us? Yi Nanheng knew what his mom was worried about and paused before answering. His mom was surprised at first, but then she understood. She sighed, half worried, half amused. Nanheng, I know I've been a burden, so I shouldn't be saying this, but I just have to. Sheng Nan's a good girl, but her family. Well, it's pretty complicated. Whatever the reason she helped us this time, we'll have to repay her in the future, no matter what. Yi Nanheng was still in a bit of a daze when his mom hesitated for a moment and then added, rich kids can be unpredictable. Just make sure you're careful when it comes to Sheng Nan. I don't want you getting hurt in the end. Yi Nanheng looked up at his mom, feeling a little helpless. I know, Mom. I'm more aware of things than you think. Ever since the incident came to light, Jiyu Lanfeng's attitude towards Sheng Mion had noticeably cooled. Sheng Mion picked up on it and, trying to make amends, brought a sandwich to his desk. Jiyu Lanfeng looked up and frowned slightly. Sheng Mion bit her lip and said softly, my mom made this for you. She wanted me to give it to you. Jiyu Lanfeng pushed the sandwich back toward her. Tell your mom thanks, but I've already eaten. Xing Mian froze for a second, then forced a smile as she tried to offer it again. I already brought it over. If you're not hungry now, you can eat it later. But just as she moved, Jiu Lanfeng grabbed her wrist and placed the sandwich back in her hand. Thanks, but no thanks. Don't bother in the future, Jiu Lanfeng said coldly. Xing Mian felt like she had just been hit with a bucket of ice water. The situation around her only made her feel worse. Her eyes turned red as she bit her lip and muttered, fine, whatever, before running off without looking back. Jiu Lanfeng didn't even spare her a glance. The more he thought about how kind he used to be to Xing Mian, the more ridiculous it seemed now that he knew Xing Mian's true nature. It was like a weight in his throat, and he couldn't shake the feeling of how laughable his past actions were. While Xing Mian was getting publicly snubbed by Jiu Lanfeng for trying to bring his breakfast, Yi Nanheng was on the other side feeding Xing Nan. Xing Nan happily munched away while praising, your mom made this, right? She's an amazing cook. Yi Nanheng finally felt a little relief, pressing her lips together and replying with a simple, yeah. He watched as Xing Nan's cheeks puffed up as she ate, her eyes bright and round like a hamster enjoying a snack. Between bites, Xing Nan couldn't stop raving, this is so good. Next time your mom makes something delicious, don't forget to bring me a share. She teased, don't act like you made it yourself. You're just the delivery guy. Yi Nanheng rolled his eyes, knowing Xing Nan would never let him forget it. Yi Nanheng couldn't help but laugh at how ridiculous Xing Nan was being, completely forgetting how out of character he had just acted. As Xing Mian passed by, she caught a glimpse of this scene and felt a mix of embarrassment, anger, and helplessness. All her frustration was directed at Xing Nan. If it wasn't for Xing Nan's scheming, she wouldn't have lost such a great opportunity. She wouldn't be getting all those judgmental stares, nor would Jiu Lanfeng be giving her the cold shoulder. And yet, that top student, the one who was always at the top of the class and too cool to socialize with anyone, was acting so gentle towards Xing Nan. Xing Mian's heart sank, her eyes filling with a cold, intense anger. She walked straight over to Yi Nanheng. Yi Nanheng frowned slightly, ready to step aside, but Xing Mian quickly blocked his path. Why are you so close to Xing Nan? You two friends now? Yi Nanheng kept his face neutral and replied, none of your business. Xing Mian smirked. Oh, so Xing Nan pays for your mom's medical bills, and now you think she's your friend? Yi Nanheng stayed silent. Xing Mian took out her phone, a smug grin on her face, and sent him a few recordings. She waved her phone in front of Yi Nanheng. Go ahead, listen. Yi Nanheng's face remained expressionless as he played the audio. Within moments, Xing Nan's voice rang out, full of arrogance. Yi Nanheng walks around like a stray dog every day. How could he even dream of being in the same league as Jiu Lanfeng? I can't wait to see his break. I mean, really, what's more fun than humiliating him? Don't you all think it's hilarious? The recording was a conversation between Xing Nan and a few others, each word dripping with contempt and malice. Xing Mian noticed the sudden coldness in Yi Nanheng's eyes and let out a mocking laugh. What do you think Xing Nan's up to, making sure you're deep in debt? You didn't really think she's helping you out of kindness, did you? Xing Mian sneered, her words slow and deliberate. Don't forget why she targeted you in the first place. Just as Xing Mian was busy stirring up trouble, something happened with Xing Nan. Before school was even over, she got called home by Xing Mingshan. Swart personally picked her up and brought her home, and when Xing Nan saw Xing Mingshan's injured arm, she was immediately shocked. That's when she found out there had been a traitor among the bodyguards. The traitor tried to attack Xing Mingshan, but another bodyguard took care of it. Leslie had been in an accident, and Xing Mingshan had to return overseas. The conflict within the Norman family was way more intense than Xing Nan had ever imagined. Leslie's helicopter had crashed, leaving him in a coma, and his condition was extremely critical. Leslie had signed over his inheritance rights to Xing Mingshan, but her uncle, Stephen, was after the fortune too, and had already started making moves. To keep Xing Nan safe, Xing Mingshan had to leave, leaving Swart behind to protect her? Xing Nan frowned. If Leslie's side was destined to lose, wouldn't Sheng Mingshan be walking into danger by going back? The outcome was inevitable. Sheng Nan understood Sheng Mingshan's intentions and told her to take care of herself when she returned. After Sheng Mingshan left, Sheng Nan turned to Swart and said, "You should go back too. Stay hidden and do everything in your power." Swart hesitated, "But my mission is to protect you." Xing Nan looked at him and spoke slowly but firmly, "That's an order." After a moment of silence, Swart lowered his head respectfully, "Yes, Miss Norman." Before leaving, Swart handed Xing Nan a gun. "Please make sure to protect yourself." Soon after, the house was quiet, and Xing Nan was alone. Although the fates of Sheng Mingshan and Leslie didn't directly affect her, she still didn't want anything bad to happen to them. It was only then that she realized she had already come to see them as family. Just then, a knock on the door snapped Sheng Nan out of her thoughts. She frowned slightly. The system prompt said, "Your aunt, Ju Ru, is here." Sheng Nan, expressionless, got up and walked to the door. She looked at Ju Ru through the security door. "What do you want?" "Nan, is your mom home?" Ju Ru asked while trying to peek into the house, her eyes full of scheming. In fact, she had already seen Sheng Mingshan leaving earlier in tears, clearly dealing with some sort of problem. Xing Nan was getting impatient and told Ju Ru her mom wasn't on a business trip anymore. Ju Ru immediately confirmed her suspicions. Putting on a fake concerned look, she said, "Don't keep things from your aunt. Is something wrong at home? Since your mom's not around, I'm your guardian now, don't be scared." She then added, annoyed, "Why are you keeping me outside like this? Let me in." Xing Nan stood there, expressionless. In the original storyline, Ju Ru used this fake concern to get inside and, while the main character was panicking, stole a jewelry box from Sheng Mingshan's room. That box was left as an emergency fund. But this time, Xing Nan didn't open the door. Staring coldly at Ju Ru, she said, "If you don't leave right now, I'm calling the cops," then slammed the door shut. Ju Ru was stunned, her face turning dark with anger. She muttered bitterly, "Ungrateful little brat," cursing under her breath as she walked away. She didn't take Xing Nan seriously, assuming she'd find another way in. Once Ju Ru was gone, Xing Nan quickly gathered all the valuable jewelry from the house and headed straight to the bank in Central Plaza. She was going to store it all away. If Leslie didn't pull through, this stash would at least give her some security. After securing the jewelry, Xing Nan hesitated. Should she go back to the old house? Just then, the system alerted her that someone had broken in right after she left. She decided it was better to find a high-end hotel to stay in for now. Suddenly, Xing Nan thought of Jiu Lanfeng, someone similar to Sheng Mian. In this world, Jiu Lanfeng had a special aura of luck. If she could stick around him, maybe she'd be a bit safer. Besides, Jiu Lanfeng had been texting her on and off recently, probably interested in her. He even asked her to meet him after school today. For her own safety, she figured she could put up with it for now. Whatever, it's not like I'm losing anything. Xing Nan's only focus now was on keeping herself alive, so she couldn't be bothered with anything else. She'd almost forgotten she even had a boyfriend. After school, Jiu Lanfeng was already waiting at the gate. When most of the students had left, he finally saw Xing Nan walking out casually and making her way over to him. Xing Nan raised an eyebrow. "What's up?" Jiu Lanfeng smiled and said he was going to the school's coming-of-age ball and wanted to invite her as his date. Xing Nan frowned. "I'm not even of age yet." "Not interested." Jiu Lanfeng teased. "Right, you're about a year younger than me, so you should call me your big brother." Xing Nan paused for a second, then couldn't hold back. "You're so cringe." Jiu Lanfeng choked on his laugh, coughing awkwardly, then quickly surrendered. All right, my bad. I just wanted to invite you as my date, okay?" Xing Nan was eyeing Jiu Lanfeng, debating if she should stick with him for her own safety. But when she saw his greasy demeanor, she took a deep breath, realizing there was no way she could handle being around this guy every day. She'd rather fend for herself. Taking a breath, Sheng Nan gave up on relying on him and shook her head, "Sorry, I'm not interested," and turned to leave. But Jiyu Lanfeng wasn't ready to give up so easily and reached out to grab her arm. Sheng Nan almost wanted to resist turning around and kicking him. Instead, she looked back with a helpless expression. "I said I'm not interested." Jiyu Lanfeng saw the annoyance in her eyes and backed off a bit. Sheng Nan remembered how, last time, she tried to stop him on the track to confess but chickened out and walked away. Now, she regretted not saying something. Just then, the system spoke up, "Warning, host! Yi Nanheng's corruption level has risen to 50. Sheng Nan was confused for a second. "Wait, what are you talking about?" Because of Sheng Mian's manipulations, Yi Nanheng had already misunderstood Sheng Nan, and now catching her in a tug-of-war with Jiyu Lanfeng only made things worse. His corruption level, which had just started to go down, shot back up to 50. Hearing the system alert, Sheng Nan instinctively turned around and spotted a familiar figure walking away. Ignoring Jiyu Lanfeng, she quickly ran after Yi Nanheng's fading silhouette. Sheng Nan felt a bit helpless. She had been so focused on staying alive these past couple of days that she had almost forgotten about Yi Nanheng. When Jiyu Lanfeng saw Sheng Nan running after Yi Nanheng without hesitation, his expression darkened. This was the first time he had ever made a move on a girl, but she was so cold toward him while being so eager to chase after some poor kid. "Yi Nanheng!" Sheng Nan called after him, but Yi Nanheng ignored her and kept walking without a word. As she chased after him, Sheng Nan tried to make conversation, still clueless about what had happened and why Yi Nanheng's corruption level had suddenly spiked. But no matter what she asked, Yi Nanheng didn't respond. Sheng Nan suddenly remembered that Yi Nanheng was the main villain in the novel's world and figured if she stuck close to him, she might be able to survive. Testing the waters, Sheng Nan asked, "Hey, can I stay at your place for a while?" Yi Nanheng abruptly stopped, turned, and stared at her. "Stay at my place?" His voice was icy and dripping with sarcasm. "Are we that close? Or do you just want to watch me fall apart up close and personal?" Sheng Nan finally realized something was off. Carefully, she asked, "What's wrong? Did something happen?" With mockery in his eyes, Yi Nanheng pulled out his phone and played a recording sent to him by Sheng Mian. Sheng Nan stood there in shock as she heard her own voice spouting all kinds of mean, hurtful things. Yi Nanheng walks around like a stray dog every day. How could he even dream of being in the same league as Jiyu Lanfeng? Each word from the recording hit like a punch, and Sheng Nan felt frozen on the spot. Yi Nanheng listened to the recording, thinking back to what he had just witnessed. The more he thought about it, the more ridiculous it seemed that he had tried to convince himself to believe in Sheng Nan. From start to finish, it was all just a game for Sheng Nan to toy with him. And yet, Yi Nanheng had believed it. He'd even been moved by Sheng Nan's fake kindness and forced smiles. That flicker of hope he had felt turned into ice in Yi Nanheng's heart. He looked at Sheng Nan, his eyes filled with ridicule. "What's wrong? Cat got your tongue?" Sheng Nan didn't know what to say. It was something the original Sheng Nan had done, but now she was stuck taking the blame. Yi Nanheng gave a sarcastic smirk. "Too bad for you, huh? You won't be able to mess with me anymore." Without another word, he turned and walked away, not even looking back. Sheng Nan stood there for a while before sighing. Might as well go home tonight. Maybe that's the safest place after all. As Yi Nanheng walked away, a cold feeling kept growing inside him. He happened to pass by the place where he used to work part-time. Unintentionally, he thought of the moment that girl had stood in front of him, trying to protect him. But now, he could only laugh at himself. What a joke that had been. Yi Nanheng had actually started to believe it was real, even though it had been just a game to the other girl. Suddenly, he overheard a familiar name. Sheng Nan, serves her right for how she treated you back then. Nobody's going to help her now. Yi Nanheng's head snapped up at the name, his heart briefly skipping a beat. Nobody's going to help her now. So that's why Sheng Nan had asked if he could stay over? Was something bad happening to him? But just as quickly, Yi Nanheng shook off the thought. What does it have to do with me? He told himself. Was he really being pathetic enough to worry about someone who had been toying with him? Yi Nanheng kept walking, expressionless, but after a few steps, he suddenly stopped. No matter what, she did help me once. I owe her that much. When he made it back to the school gates, Sheng Nan was long gone. Yi Nanheng stood there in silence for a moment before walking over to the curb and hailing a cab. Once he got in, he gave the driver the name of Sheng Nan's neighborhood. The driver made a U-turn while glancing at him in the rearview mirror. You and your friend fighting? I gotta say, fate really keeps bringing me back to you too. Last time, when she took you to the hospital, you were in my car. Just now, I drove her home, and now I'm taking you to her place. Yi Nanheng froze, caught off guard. She took me to the hospital? Yep, not too long ago. You looked pretty out of it. The young lady said someone drugged you. And you even kissed her. You young folks these days sure are bold. Yi Nanheng was completely stunned. Are you sure it was her that time? You're not mistaken? The driver laughed. Kid, you're funny. You don't even know who you were with? That girl was pretty and even mixed race, hard to mistake. Yi Nanheng froze in shock. Was it really Sheng Nan? No wonder she didn't respond when I messaged her back then. His heart started racing. If it was Sheng Nan, why didn't she say anything? If all her help was just to mess with me, then why save me when I was out of it? He suddenly thought of that kiss. It wasn't even really a kiss. Even after he got out of the cab and paid, he was still in a daze, debating whether or not to call her. Then he heard a surprised voice behind him. Yi Nanheng was confused. Didn't you storm off already? Why are you back so fast? Are you here to settle things? Sheng Nan cautiously stopped a few steps away. Was it you who took me to the hospital? Yi Nanheng asked quietly. Sheng Nan's ears perked up. How did he know that? Did he also know about the time I slapped him? Feeling guilty, Sheng Nan hunched her shoulders. You bit me first, so I hit you. Yi Nanheng's heart skipped a beat. So it really was her. The future villain didn't say anything, but Sheng Nan freaked out. Realizing this was her chance to explain, she quickly took a couple of steps forward and said, whatever you heard was just me being dumb at first. I know I messed up, but you can't just give me a life sentence for that, right? That wouldn't be fair, would it? Yi Nanheng stared at her quietly. And what you said at the hospital, were you being serious? Sheng Nan immediately raised her hand as if taking an oath. Everything was real. I really wanted to help you, to make sure you were okay, and to bring us closer. I swear, if I'm lying, let me gain 10 pounds every year and get wrinkles all over my face. That's the worst curse for me. If you still don't believe me. Yi Nanheng cut her off. I believe you. Surprised that things went so smoothly, Sheng Nan was startled for a second, but her eyes lit up, and she walked over with a grin. Yi Nanheng, you're the best. I think I'm starting to like you more and more. Caught off guard by this, Yi Nanheng froze a little, his ears turning red. He bit his lip and whispered, Can you be serious for once? Sheng Nan looked completely sincere, gently touching Yi Nanheng's ear. Look into my eyes, I'm telling you the truth from the bottom of my heart. Yi Nanheng turned his head, not wanting to deal with her. But then he remembered something. Why did you say you wanted to stay at my place today? Sheng Nan was a bit confused at first, then laughed. Oh, my mom's out of town on a work trip, so I'm home alone. I got a little freaked out and just said that without thinking. Don't take it seriously. Yi Nanheng glanced toward her apartment and asked, If no one's home at your place, want to come to mine for dinner? Sheng Nan immediately lit up and grinned. I'd love to. You know I wouldn't turn that down. After dinner, Yi Nanheng asked, If you're really scared, you sure you don't mind staying at my place? Sheng Nan quickly shook her head. Nah, I was just joking. Staying at someone else's place would be super awkward. When it was time to leave, Yi Nanheng walked her to a taxi and only turned back after watching the car drive off. But just then, Sheng Nan got a message from the system saying someone was hanging around outside her house. Her scalp tingled in fear. She was about to tell the driver to head to the police station, but before she could, she got another alert. The driver she was with was in on it with the people watching her house. Sheng Nan almost cursed out loud.
Could you wait until I'm actually dead before coming for me?
Trying to stay calm, she quickly thought of a plan. Still in the busy part of the city, Sheng Nan acted casual. Hey, could you stop for a second? I want to grab some roasted chestnuts. The driver looked annoyed, but he couldn't refuse, so he pulled over to the side of the road. Sheng Nan stayed calm, got out of the car, and walked towards the chestnut stand. After a few steps, she suddenly took off running. The driver swore under his breath and immediately radioed his buddies. Soon enough, a few people appeared behind Sheng Nan, either far or close, subtly heading in the direction she was running.